Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Imelda Zakaria, and I'll be your host for today's event. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar, Strategic Investments in the Philippines from Singapore. Today's webinar is part of our ASEAN Plus Group's series of events. Recent changes to legislation on tax and investments have made the Philippines more appealing to foreign direct investors. Following the Fiscal Incentives Review Board's new tax and fiscal incentives, nationality restrictions for foreign direct investments were relaxed with the amendments to the Public Service Act, Foreign Direct Investments Act, and Retail Trade Liberalization Act. Former President Duterte signed the country's strategic investment priorities plan for the next 2 years, right before a political regime change. How will these developments make the Philippines a more attractive FDI destination from and through Singapore? How can foreign direct investors best navigate the Philippine business and legal environment to maximize returns? What are the strategic investments in the Philippines? We will discuss all these and more in today's panel discussions. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure now to introduce our keynote speaker, Director Evariste Cagatan, Director, Philippine Board of Investments, and she will be sharing on Philippine Strategic Investment Priorities Plan for 2022. Director Cagatan, please.
Thank you, Imelda. Let me just try to share my slides. Can you see them? It's okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for inviting the Philippine Board of Investments to be part of this webinar organized by RHT Law Asia for Singapore. You know, Singapore has consistently been a major trading partner and a source of foreign direct investments for the Philippines. Thus, I am very much pleased to be with you today to present our country's investment climate, advantages, and opportunities. Allow me to start by sharing that in the past 5 years of the Duterte administration, we were able to bring forth a number of difficult yet major and game-changing policy reforms and accelerated program interventions that helped position the Philippines towards a stronger post-pandemic recovery, leading to a more vibrant trade, investment, and industry progress. As we are now seeing what seems to be the new normal amid the pandemic, we are confident that the Philippines remains to be a prime investment destination, as several international firms have already expressed strong interest in investing in the country, especially in new technology-based industries. The increasing number of investors are encouraged by improvements in our business environment brought by the major economic policy reforms. We credit as well the inherent strength or competitive advantage of the country to our people. We have a sizable market of 110 million Filipinos, and our labor force presently stands at 49 million. We also produce around 800,000 annual graduates across several disciplines, major of which are in business administration, education, science, and teacher training, engineering and technology, IT-related disciplines, and medical and allied courses. We are proud to say that Filipinos represent the youngest workforce among the 5 founding members of ASEAN. With a median age of 25.7 years, we have more years ahead in providing a resilient and capable human resource pool, and with increasing income for an attractive and growing consumer base. The passage of the Ease of Doing Business Act led to a series of improvements in the delivery of government services, which catapulted the country's competitiveness ranking from 124th in 2019 to 95th in 2020. We are happy to inform you that this commitment to create a more attractive business-enabling environment is being sustained through the new administration. In his first State of the Nation address, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. bared his plans to further streamline and accelerate digitalization in the country, and our anti-red tape authority vowed to carry out his directives. Now, credit rating firms have likewise reaffirmed the country's investment grades, mainly due to the country's resilience to external shocks, as cited by Japan Credit Rating Agency, R&I, and S&P Global. Meanwhile, Moody's upgraded its rating, expecting the country's rebound in real GDP in 2021 to continue well into 2022, to converge towards potential rates of around 6% per annum thereafter. In addition, the Asian Development Bank raised its GDP forecast for the country from 6% in April to 6.5%, according to Asian Development Outlook 2022 Supplement Report released just last July 21. The Manila-based multilateral institution said that the better-than-expected growth is due to the relaxation of COVID-19 mobility restrictions, alongside the expansion of the government's inoculation program and a rebound in investment and household consumption. Earlier, I mentioned about game-changing laws and government support for inward foreign direct investments. And these major policy shifts complement the Ease of Doing Business Act and are expected to attract more global players that will modernize several sectors, particularly retail, technology, telecoms, shipping, and the like. Similarly, this will increase competition in terms of services and products, translating to more competitive pricing to the benefit of the consumers. All these laws being shown in your screens will be further elaborated in the succeeding slides. One of the game changers is the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, signed on March 26 to rationalize, modernize, and offer more relevant incentives for companies. And under the CREATE Act, qualified projects can enjoy incentives of up to 17 years of income tax holiday and 5 or 10 years of 5% preferential tax rate or enhanced deductions depending on project location and industry tier. Tax and duty exemption on capital equipment, raw materials, spare parts, and supplies are also available for export-oriented activities. And one of the key features of the Act is the President's flexibility in granting incentives for highly desirable projects with minimum investment capital of 50 billion pesos or at least 10,000 job generation with a total period of availment of up to 40 years. The CREATE Act also called for the crafting of a Strategic Investment Priority Plan, or the SIPP, which identifies industries and projects that may be eligible for the fiscal incentives I mentioned earlier. The SIPP is one of our important tools to attract high-value, modern, strategic, and sustainable high-technology activities that will strengthen our participation in the global value chain, create more jobs, and further sharpen the Philippines' competitiveness in the global market. Tier 1 of the SIPP covers investments with high potential for creating jobs, value creation, and providing essential support to sectors critical to industrial development, as well as emerging industries with potential comparative advantage. This includes essential goods such as food, medicines, agriculture and manufacturing, services, infrastructure, logistics, telecoms, tourism, and export activities. Tier 2, on the other hand, includes the manufacture of supplies, parts, and components not produced in the country in order to address our trade deficit and gaps in the domestic supply and value chain. Sample activities under Tier 2 are integrated iron and steel production, copper rod manufacturing, and green ecosystems like EV assembly, manufacture of its parts, and completing its ecosystem, electronic devices, smart grids, and renewable energy. Health-related infrastructure, defense-related industries, and food security-related activities are also qualified under Tier 2. We very much welcome investment projects that will use modern, advanced, or new technologies, which I believe is up the alley of expertise and interest of Singaporean companies. Such activities are classified under Tier 3, and these involve those that can accelerate the transformation of the economy with the aim of gaining global leadership in emerging industries. These are R&D-oriented projects, advanced digital production technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, robotics, AI, Internet of Things, chatbots, and AI-enabled IT BPM, additive manufacturing, and nanotechnologies. It also includes commercialization of intellectual property and R&D products and services, medical devices, R&D hubs, science and technology parks, and innovation and incubation centers. Moving on, another game-changing law is the amended Retail Trade Liberalization Act. Signed into law in December 2021, the RTLA removes pre-qualification requirements, reduces the minimum paid-up capital requirements for foreign-owned enterprises that will engage in the Philippine retail trade to only $500,000 from the previous $2.5 million. It also lowered the investment requirements for each store owned by a foreign enterprise who wants to open more than one physical store to $200,000 per store, which is a huge reduction from the previous requirement of $830,000 per store. Meanwhile, with the amended Foreign Investments Act signed into law last March, the Philippines can now be a second home for Singaporean startup firms involved in advanced technology with a capital requirement of only $100,000 and 15 employees from the local workforce. Last but not least, we have the amended Public Service Act, which now allows up to 100% foreign ownership of public services in the country, specifically in telecommunications, shipping, air carriers, railways, subways, airports, toll roads. This is foreseen to modernize and open up the key sectors to much needed foreign investments and competition, which would translate to more jobs, cheaper airfare, lower transportation and shipping costs, and affordable internet services for the benefit of all. Meanwhile, other sectors such as electricity and water distribution and transmission retain the 40% maximum for foreign equity. Additionally, the Philippines has preferential access in major markets through our free trade agreements, which not only improves trade but also promotes investments among the nations. We continue to benefit from the EU GSP+. Likewise, we are currently working to push for more products to be included in the talks for the US GSP. And this adds to the value of making the Philippines your manufacturing location for GSP products. Even during the pandemic, the Philippines has been proactive in enhancing strategic bilateral and regional relations with other trade partners, like the continuation of the bilateral FTA with Japan and that of the European Free Trade Association, and the recent conclusion of our negotiations for the Philippines-South Korea FTA. We are also working hard to have our Senate ratify our participation in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or the RCEP. Investment promotion and protection agreements have likewise been recently signed by the Philippines with UAE, Israel, and Taiwan. We are also very happy to inform you that from the previous rank of 6th, the Philippines now ranks 4th in Southeast Asia in terms of FDI inflows. We attribute this to our continuous investment promotion activities, strong macroeconomic fundamentals, and the growing optimism with the passage of the CREATE Act and the other game-changing policy reforms. We have witnessed a significant growth in FDIs over the years, with the annual average in 2017 to 2021 reaching $9.2 billion, almost double the $5.3 billion annual average in the previous 2012-2016 period. Last year, our FDI net inflows reached $10.5 billion, breaching the previous record high of $10.3 billion in 2017. This level translated to an increase of 54.2% from $6.8 billion posted in 2020. It is noteworthy to say that Singapore emerged as our top source of FDI for 2021, mostly because of the telecommunication towers and renewable energy projects that came in. Additionally, our latest FDI figures show positive growth by 12% year-on-year in January to April 2022, amounting to $3.4 billion US dollars. Out of the 4 common tower projects approved by the BOI last December 2021, 3 companies are from Singapore. These are Transcend Towers and Infrastructure Philippines, a subsidiary of American Towers, Frontier Towers Associates Philippines Inc., and Sky Towers Infrastructure Inc. Combined with another American project, these projects are projected to build a total of 10,933 towers, in addition to the 25,000 common towers project of ISOC Asia. PFOCN, another Singaporean company, actually registered with BOI in 2019 for their fiber optic cable network project that will cover 60,000 kilometers of cable nationwide. We have also received significant investments in renewable energy from Shizen Incorporated and H&WB Asia Pacific, and in this year from the Sinocalan Solar Power Corporation. Just like the companies I mentioned in the previous slide, you will also find significant investment opportunities in our manufacturing sector, particularly in smart manufacturing, e-vehicles, aerospace and electronics, IT/BPM, logistics, e-commerce, infrastructure, hyperscalers and data center, and agribusiness and food processing. And just to breeze through my slides that follow, we would like more investments in future technologies, smart manufacturing and digitalization, such as in smart agriculture and biotechnology, smart manufacturing and robotics, to name a few. We recognize that the future of transportation will be autonomous, connected, electric, and shared. The Philippines is optimistic to realize its potential to become a regional manufacturing hub for electric vehicles and EV parts. And this is just one of the sectors that we want to develop and give our full support. In fact, we have a move now to reduce tariff rates from 30% to 0% to encourage the entry of EVs and allow a faster shift to electric vehicles. There are also opportunities in our aerospace industry, particularly in aerospace parts manufacturing, aircraft maintenance and repair, and aviation aerospace engineering training. And you may also want to venture into semiconductor manufacturing services, leveraging on our strengths in assembly, test, and packaging, and in electronics manufacturing services, specializing in complex PCB assembly, box build and systems assembly, with a growing capability in design development and original design manufacturing, as well as in chip design. I also would like to share that the Philippines is set to be the first country in Southeast Asia to avail of Elon Musk's SpaceX low Earth orbit satellite network constellation called Starlink. We have liberalized access to satellite services, allowing greater interconnectivity and access to broadband, most especially to the remote and far-flung areas in the archipelago. We are also positioning the Philippines as the next strategic hyperscaler hub in the Asia-Pacific, with the expansion of technology giants such as Google and Facebook, or Meta, whose massive capacity requirements require larger data center facilities. We currently have 20 operational data centers and still growing across the country. And we have a strong global legacy in the business process outsourcing industry, future of work programs, and hyperscale roadmap. We have observed a phenomenal rise of e-commerce in the country. The Economy Southeast Asia report from Google, Temasek, and Bain & Company says that the Philippines is leading the growth in e-commerce among Southeast Asian economies at 93% from 2020 to 2021. And we have also recorded a total number of e-commerce merchants based on data received from digital platforms, growing from 500,000 in 2020 to 2 million merchants in 2022, with an estimated 6 million social media sellers and users. The policy and program interventions I have mentioned are reforms intended to attain our vision for a more inclusive and prosperous Philippines. Let me just quickly share with you just some of the dramatic results we have been experiencing. Despite the negative impact of COVID-19, the average sectoral growth from 2016 to 2021 remained positive. Industry and services continued to manifest positive growth, with industry and manufacturing sectors growth at 8.5 and 8.8% respectively in 2021, surpassing their previous 6 to 7% average growth rates. The Philippine GDP posted a full-year growth rate of 5.7% in 2021, surpassing the government target of 5% growth. And this is also among the highest GDP growth rates in ASEAN and the East Asian region. Our growth trajectory is back and on a higher level, and in fact, our GDP growth for the first quarter of this year has reached 8.3%, surpassing all expectations and even our pre-pandemic growth levels. And it is the highest in this part of the world. Moreover, our current administration targets a 6.5 to 7.5% of real GDP growth in 2022, while 6.5 to 8% growth annually from 2023 to 2028. The country's index for manufacturing, known as the Purchasing Managers Index, is at 53.8 in June, which is the third fastest among the 7 ASEAN countries. This is the 5th consecutive month that the PMI was above the 50 mark, which separates growth from contraction. And the latest headline index reading is also the third fastest since November 2018. Indeed, the previous administration passed on a legacy of major policy reforms and programs that should strengthen the Philippine economic fundamentals moving forward. In President Marcos's first State of the Nation address last July 25, he mentioned that these reforms will be capitalized on for our country to become an investment destination of choice. He also clearly laid down the direction for the country and its people, including productivity-enhancing investments. He added that we will be fully supported to bring in strategic industries such as those engaged in energy, high-tech manufacturing, health and medical care, and all emerging technologies. And so, in closing, let me invite you to come visit our country and make it the second home to your businesses. We at the BOI are looking forward to seeing Singaporean businesses make it happen in the Philippines. Rest assured that the BOI stands ready to support your business endeavors as you capitalize on our game-changing reforms and our growth trajectory. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Director Cagatan, for that introductory address.